we'll get this down, Pat. Certainly, like a couple of years.
And we've come a long way.
Okay, we are good.
We're good?
Yes.
Good, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Audit Committee meeting for the City of New York dated February 24th, 2021, which is being held by Zoom. I'd like to, first, I'd like to do the roll call.
I think we need to do the nominations, Mike.
Oh, I need the roll call, so then we know we have enough quorum to do the nominations.
Okay. We're starting with our private members. Michael Spitzer, Chair.
Here.
Mark Kaplan.
Present.
Bud Larson.
Present.
Representing Mayor Bill de Blasio, Raymond Lee.
Present.
Representing Comptroller Scott Stringer, Jacqueline Thompson.
Present.
And representing Public Advocate Jumani Williams, Michael Toomey.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Katrina Stauffer to call for nominations for the chair.
Good morning. We would like to do nominations for the chair.
To make it right, as a member, I propose the election of Michael Spitz as chairman. And who else do we have to do? Secretary?
Secretary.
Is Katrina.
So I move that too.
I'll second those.
Are there any other nominations?
Do we have a filibuster rule here?
Those are the only nominations.
Hearing no other nominations, I accept and thank you very much for your confidence. At this time, we also have to adopt our bylaws, which were distributed to all the members.
I move them.
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. So the bylaws have been adopted.
You realize that the bylaws provide an extra compensation for everybody who moves the motion.
I think we should triple it.
Oh, even better.
At this time, I'd also like to ask for a motion to accept the minutes of January 27, 2021 as modified, and like whatever nits somebody might have, please forward them to Katrina Stauffer.
I'll keep moving. I move them.
Thank you very much.
I get extra compensation.
Also, at this time, what was distributed was the annual report for the Audit Committee for the year of from March 1st, 2020 to February 28th, 2021.
That was the monster document, right?
Yes, no. This was our own audit, our activities for the past year.
Can we do it subject to whatever little stuff I have?
Yes.
Otherwise, I'll delay it too much.
Okay, subject to any comments or nits, that should be forwarded to Katrina. So moved. At this time, I'll call upon to the representatives of the New York City School Support Services to present their annual report and management letter dated June 30, 2020. And I ask if anybody's on here and your name isn't identified, just to identify yourself, or if you're calling in and by phone and all we see is a phone number, just identify yourselves briefly at this time so that we could get them into the minutes of this meeting.
Yeah, because I have a number of numbers and I don't know who you are.
So is also Grant Thornton going to be on this?
Yes.
I saw Marla someplace.
Good morning.
There she is.
Yes, he is.
Very hard when you got 25 screens and then there's another screen with some more.
That's why I went with the purple background so you could find it.
That's my favorite color.
Well, good.
Literally.
Okay. Is there a representative here from School Support Services?
Yes, sir.
I do see their auditor.
My name is Stephen Brennan. I'm the Executive Director of NYC School Support Services. With me is Brooke Jenkins, our auditor, Warren Rupel, Ruppel, excuse me.
Oh.
And John Shea from the DOE is with us. I'm sure there may be a few others, but these will be the main people presenting today.
Thank you. Call upon you to make any opening remarks that you choose to do so.
John, would you like to present to the group who we are and what we do with the DOE?
Sure. Thank you and good morning. My name is John Shea, CEO of School Facilities for the Department of Education. We manage all the maintenance and custodial. If I refresh the board's memory, that in 2016, New York City changed its school custodial services from what was known as the indirect system, where custodians were quasi-independent contractors, to a system under New York City School Support Services. NYSIS is a 501c3 not-for-profit that employs the custodial labor for our custodians to work in our schools. They're represented by Local 94 and Local 32 BJ, fire persons, handy persons, and cleaner titles and engineering titles. And custodians work with NYSIS to employ their labor, but NYSIS is the employer of record and manages all of the payroll and HR functions for that. We found it a vast improvement over the old system. It allows the department to maintain much more control. And as far as funding, the commitment that the city made was that this system would be cost neutral by 2020. And we are very happy to say that that is in fact what we accomplished. So we are getting better services for our children and the folks that work in our schools for the same amount of money, actually probably a little less at this point. So if no one has any questions about that, I'll turn it back over to Stephen and Warren for the presentation on the audit.
Warren, do you want to take it from here?
Oh, I don't have any particular comments. The financial statements are pretty consistent with the prior year. So unless there are any operational comments, I'm in the clear. If you remember, going back a few years ago, we had when the organization was first formed, we had a significant number of management letter comments, and they've worked very hard and cleared up all of those recommendations that we had in the past.
One quick question I have, do you have an audit committee?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay, and who is on the audit committee?
We have five board members for our board. 3 of those 5 are part of our audit committee. That's headed up by the person designated by the OMB.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other?
Do you have any truly independent members of the audit committee?
I'm sorry, sir. Could you
Are the
repeat that?
members of the audit committee independent of management?
Yes, they're very independent of management. They're picked and put in place by the City of New York and the DOE.
Are there any questions of support services by any of the audit committee members? Because this is pretty straightforward. It's one contract. So hearing none, I'd like to thank you very much for attending and good luck.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is the New York City Educational Construction Fund.
Good morning. How are you?
Wait, you got to bear with us because screens keep on. It's like music on screens.
Not a problem whatsoever.
And
I'm
once
still
again,
not. I'm still not used to this either. I keep on moving my screen in different places to see if I'm in the right place.
and
That's my Boy Scout days.
Hello.
Do it with semaphore.
just for the minutes, if you could identify everybody and if
Sure.
possibly see somebody that may have called in and you recognize the phone number, if you could just announce, at least the last 4 digits, who that is, and that's primarily for the minutes.
Correct. So this is Jennifer Maldonado. I'm the executive director of the ECF, the Educational Construction Fund. I believe we have on the phone my Finance, Cynthia Wong. who's joining, as well as our representatives from Marks Paneth, Warren Ruppel, and Daniel McClue. I cannot see who's on the call, so if they can attest to the fact that they're on the call, that'd be great.
And Warren Rupo is here, and I know Dan McAway's on the call as well.
Okay, and Cynthia?
I'm here. I see myself on the screen. You guys can see me? Anyway.
I can now. I can now. Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
So would you like me to proceed?
Yes, thank you, Jennifer.
It's good to see you all again, even in little spaces that everyone is in. But just to give you a very quick summary of the ECF's operating income, and which is on the financial statements we provided, increased from 13.7 million in 2019 to 14.4 million in fiscal year 2020. Our rental income and our tax equivalency revenues from our existing properties continue to grow from 28 million in fiscal year 2019 to 31.3 million in fiscal year 2020. So we continue to see good revenue generation from all of our projects. In fiscal year 2020, the fund did make a distribution to the Department of Education of approximately $45 million as requested by the Mayor's Office of Management and Budget and approved by our Board of Trustees. This distribution is reported as a non-operating expense in the fund's statement of activities. Taking into account that distribution, the fund's net position decreased by approximately 30.6 million during fiscal year 2020. New York State Education Law, Section 462(2)G, authorized the fund to make the payment to the DOE for school purposes when there exists an excess of funds necessary for debt service on the outstanding bonds of our funds. In recent years, the fund received one-time participation payments associated with the initial sale of condominium units at our 250 East 57th Street project. Over the last 4 years, from fiscal year 2017 to 2020, the fund received total participation payments of 30.6 million from the developer, reported as additional rent. In March of last year, in 2020, the developer finished closing sales on the residential towers condominium units. In March 2021, the fund plans a tax-exempt refunding of its 2011 A bonds, currently 126 million in bonds outstanding. We anticipate achieving significant debt service savings given the favorable interest rate environment. In 2018, the City Council had approved our ECF project at Khalil Gibran at 80 Flatbush in Brooklyn. We hope to have construction begin in July of this year. We did put the project on hold during COVID as construction was stopped on all projects, and there was some additional financial restructuring we had to do for the project. But as of today, we are in good standing. Our developers are in good standing, and we plan to move that project along. Our other project, our Co-op Tech project, which I believe I've spoken to you about before, has been delayed for the last 5 years for Article 78 lawsuits. We've prevailed in each of those lawsuits, and we believe that we now have the ability to move forward. So when we meet with you again next year, we'll have some more details about that project. And with that, I'll open it to Warren and Daniel from the auditor's office for any statements, comments they'd like to make about our financials.
No, I think, well, I have similar comments to what I said about school support services in terms of the financials being very consistent from the prior year. And we had no management letter comments this year or last year. We find controls to be good. Staff is knowledgeable, and really the audit runs very smoothly.
Just for the record, it was a clean opinion or unmodified?
It was an unmodified opinion.
Mhm.
I like to clean better.
Clean
Yes,
up.
this.
This,
What has COVID done to your income flow?
All of our rental payments, with the exception of one of our buildings who asked for a deferment for, I believe it's 4 to 6 months, all of our buildings have been paying on time. So we've been very fortunate. There was only one building, our Azure building on East 91st Street, that asked for just a different time schedule to pay, but we were able to accommodate that. And so those monies have come in.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. We were expecting that there would be more of our properties that would have difficulty, but we've been very fortunate.
Yeah. The language that's used in these statements about COVID is relatively modest compared to some of the language I've seen.
I mean, COVID affected how we move forward with our projects. We've been fortunate in that the projects that we've had in place have, again, as I said, continued to generate revenue. It's really just put some hold on projects as we move forward. And so we're trying to readjust for that. And some of the projects that we had been contemplating last year, we're starting to renegotiate those. But that basically we lost 9 months, as did everyone else, in construction phasing more than anything.
Okay. I tell you that because in my business, we're seeing an influx of lawsuits from the plaintiff's bar saying a whole litany of things, that the disclosures were not adequate, so that they tend to get longer and longer.
Oh, really? No, we haven't. I mean, that doesn't mean it's not coming. That doesn't mean there's something not coming, but we've been fortunate. So knock on wood.
Well, the only thing I'm saying is that maybe it's because we circulate them around the firm, that there's a tendency now to be anticipatory and go into a long discussion of COVID, so that you don't provide a hook for the plaintiff's bar to come in later and say, you didn't say this and you didn't say that.
Again,
I presume whoever's representing you has looked at that.
Yeah, I think Warren or Daniel, you can answer that, but I don't think that that's been anything that we were that we felt that we needed to have a longer explanation on. But Daniel, Warren, can you elaborate or add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, the disclosure that's in the financials is really a general disclosure, and that's consistent with other reports that we've issued as a firm and other reports that other auditors of governmental and nonprofit type entities have been issuing, and is consistent with some of the samples put out by the AICPA. So given that there were no specific items to mention, we were comfortable with the general disclosure that was included.
Crossing the street in a large crowd.
Good way to put it.
One other question. You do have an independent audit committee, correct?
Correct.
And who?
Well, the independent audit committee is actually the board itself, and they meet an executive committee for the audit itself. So there is not, that's probably a interesting way to put it. The auditors meet with the executive committee on any audit, and they are part of the audit, for lack of a better word, an audit committee, but they are also members of our board.
Well, that's typical.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions by any of the audit committee members here?
No.
Hearing none, I'd like to thank you for coming, and everybody be safe.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Have a good day.
Yeah. Next up is the School Construction Authority for their financial statements and management letter.
Hi, this is Steve Lawrence. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Steve.
Okay, terrific. And I'm just looking for my colleagues, Marianne Egri and Ewan Wang.
Where is Ewen?
I'm here.
Okay, good. Okay, we're all here.
Great.
And our audit team, is Hope Goldstein here today, or it will be Warren?
Yes, she's here.
Hope's on the way.
Goldstein is here. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, you got all your partners.
Duo.
Okay, and Dan McElwee and Hassan Khan, right? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So go ahead, Steve. Do you want to start with a little opening statement about what we've been doing in the last over the last year?
Yes, thank you, Marianne, and good to see all of you. Many more of you than I expected, perhaps, and our first audit committee meeting on Zoom. So fiscal year 2020 was a little bit unusual for us. We were, when we last met, we were about to enter our peak bidding season in an effort to fulfill our commitment plan last year of $4.8 billion. And then, as we all know, the pandemic hit, and SCA went from an organization that traditionally had about 30% of its workers working remotely at construction sites. Overnight, we converted to 98% of our employees working remotely. Okay, thank you, whoever put themselves on mute. And fortunately, SCA had set up its IT infrastructure over the years to support a decentralized organization, so that when we had to all work from home, it was a relatively easy transition. But all of those 690 design projects, that many of which were supposed to go out to market last spring, they didn't. So we paused design on 690 design projects. We paused construction on 660 construction projects. So, and those construction projects were then reauthorized by OMB in various tranches, so that we're now fully up. We're back up with our full portfolio. Substantially all of the 660 paused construction projects resumed, and the order in which they resumed was in terms of the urgency of them, so that we were first authorized to resume construction on new schools that were scheduled to open last September. And then our second big wave of projects had to do with our mentor program and our MWBE contractors, who have been hurt very badly by the pandemic. But some of the projects remained paused until January, or for a total of 10 months. We weren't idle during this time, though. In the interim, we designed and built more than 30 testing sites. We searched and cited thousands of seats for the Learning Bridges daycare program. We inspected ventilation in 137,000 classrooms in 8 days. And so just anyone who can do that math, and it was a mammoth undertaking that I think when I tell people how SCA functioned during the pandemic, that's the statistic that impacts the audience the most. The 137,000 classrooms in 8 days. And we're continuing to design and build vaccination sites. And then one small additional detail, this week, 2 days ago, we learned that our president and CEO for the last almost 11 years, Lorraine Brillo, is now going to be the mayor's senior advisor for recovery. And we have a a new acting president, Nina Kubota, who's a 22-year veteran of SCA. Marianne?
Okay, I think that says a lot about it. I think despite, to Steve's point, the schools that were supposed to open in September were the ones that we were allowed to move forward with first. So we were able to open 21 new schools and add the 6,900 plus seats to the school system that had been planned. So we also, before we, had to shut down, we were able to award construction contracts for 14 new schools and additions, and also for 265 capital improvement projects. So those projects we did start once we were allowed to move forward with them. We currently have 36 capacity projects that are in construction, and we have 494 capital improvement projects that are now in construction. And we are on track to open the 11 schools in September that will add over 3,700 school seats. So we're back in business fully since December. So with that, I will turn it over to the audit committee to see what questions you may have.
Once again, it was a clean or unmodified opinion. Correct?
Yes.
And are there, do you have an audit committee?
Yes, we do. It's an independent audit committee.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions that any of the city's audit committee members might have?
Yeah, I have. When we look at all these projects you're undertaking and have done, obviously, which is a heroic effort, what does that reflect in incremental, if any, costs to the projects?
So
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you can go.
Okay. Sorry, we're being too polite here with each other. So we are still sorting out what the total financial impact will be. We had to impose a number of additional safety protocols at all 660 active construction sites to be compliant with the state and city regulations regarding COVID under COVID regarding construction sites. So those have the effect because of the distancing of the workers and the additional safety protocols. It is going to increase the cost of some of our projects. I think almost from the first day of the pandemic, we were given notice by many of our contractors that they're reserving their rights to file claims somewhere down the road. And some of them have filed claims, and others are still trying to figure out what their additional costs might be that they want to claim. So we've set up protocols, and we've basically set up a framework with our contractors about what we are going to pay them for the period that they were on pause, as well as for what incremental costs we would accept that are in addition to what they bid, because when they bid the project, there was no consideration of COVID. So I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Yeah, you danced around it. Obviously, there's a substantial incremental cost. I didn't realize you were paying them on pause. How do you finance that incremental cost?
Well,
go on, Marianne, you want to?
Well, the cost will be in change orders, but we, as Steve said, we do not know what that cost is at this point, because each contractor is going to negotiate separately based on the specifics of their situation. So in terms of how will it be financed, it will be financed out of the capital plan. But they will show up as change orders against those projects, and we will know that they are a result of, you know, the COVID, and we will be able to calculate the costs associated with that, but we don't have that right now.
Right, and just to add to what Marianne was saying, we're also reflecting what we, you know, we're reflecting the additional COVID-related requirements in all of our projects that are going out to bid or have gone out to bid since we were on pause. So now our invitations to bid contain additional requirements that the contractors have to factor into their bids. And you know, as Marianne said, the additional costs associated with the existing portfolio of projects, we will reflect in next year's plan amendment.
I still don't have a sense. If a project was going to cost 1,000, you must have some estimate of what it's now going to cost. And is that change reflected in any place in your financial statements? And is some paragraph that says what this? I don't have it in front of me, so I apologize.
No, at the time of our financial statements, we had no idea when our projects were going to come on pause. In fact, I don't think at the time of our financial state, you know, very few of our, even in going into September, very few of our projects had been unpaused at that point. It was really the projects that had to open for September. So we had no way of estimating what kind of delay claims or what kind of claims the contractors are going to put in. We had no basis for that at that point.
So forgive me, what kind of, I don't have it in front of me, and I things got all confused for me. I don't remember the description of the potential liability in your financial statements was rather rudimentary. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, Warren or Hope, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, that it was, we signed off on it's Hope Goldstein. Hello, everyone. We signed off on the financial statements on October 9th. So, you know, because of the situation being as fluid as it was, we all look back, you know, that's, you know, several months ago. I think to the best of everybody's assessment at the time, nobody knew what was going to happen. So we had the general required disclosure that our firm had confirmed to us to have around COVID. I think, you know, now you could, you know, we're several months from October 9th and things have been changing. But at that point, October 9th, we all could think back of the percentage of uncertainty at that point, which was very high, about when these projects would get back on the calendar for continuation.
And what, if I could just add to give some perspective of the range of costs that we've agreed to pay our contractors through change orders. So there are no labor costs involved during the period they were on pause. They're primarily rental costs that our contractors have to pay to rent their site trailers, to rent sidewalk bridging and scaffolding. Those are typically, they're non-labor costs that are incurred for the entire duration of a project. So we've in essence agreed to those who are seeking additional reimbursement from us to pay them for their general conditions costs, the trailer rental, the scaffold, sidewalk bridging rental, because those are costs that each of the contractors had to incur and bear during this pause, which they bear no responsibility for.
Well, all right.
Mark, it has to be pointed out also that total funding for the SCA comes from the city of New York. It's not like they go out and issue their own debt or anything like that.
No, but it all adds up to an incremental cost of running the city. That's all.
No, you're right, but I just wanted to explain that. Are there any other questions for the members of the SCA by the city's audit committee? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to thank you all for coming and I wish everyone be safe and be well.
Same to you. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
everyone.
Thank you very much.
See you next year.
Hopefully in person.
Looking for like at this time, I'm gonna ask for like a motion to move into executive session.
Motion to move into executive session.
Second.
Thank you.
Back in public session.
We're set up for the March and April meetings, correct? No April.
We're set up for March.
April.
Sorry, just March. I didn't realize I was muted.
Yeah, so what was it for April? The 21st tentatively? Or was it the 28th?
So for April, we had it to be determined. The committee would like to discuss whether or not they would be meeting with the chief actuary and management, the investment overview.
Do you want to do this after?
We could, what do you mean? That's fine, yeah, like as long as the members are here. We're in, Kat, are we in open session now?
We're public.
Okay. We could do it now because it's an open session, so this way it would be part of the record. And I guess, how about, is everybody available April 28th?
Hey, look. I can't talk now, whoever you are. I'm in a meeting, but
They're probably trying to sell you a car warranty, don't worry.
like one of my daughters. April 28th.
Bud,
Yeah, I'm good.
Jackie,
I'm just looking, Mike.
Michael,
April 28th. Hold on, I'm in March. Oh, come on.
typically we try for the fourth Wednesday, I think, of the month or thereabouts, unless there's a holiday or something.
So this is the April meeting with the chief actuary, correct? And
Well, that was my next comment. I just asked Camille to resend out who would be scheduled typically on this session.
Thanks, Chief. I'm okay on the 28th of April.
Yeah, that would be that was the additional meeting that we had for the chief actuary and Ben.
yeah. All right. So normally we would ask them their availability first and then reach out to you guys, only because they have constant board meetings with the retirement systems already previously scheduled, and we wouldn't be aware of that. So can we circle back to the committee at the next meeting with regards to dates, or before the next meeting?
That's fine.
And then once we finalize, I could send out an email.
Yeah, that would be good. So I'd lock it on my calendar once.
Yep.
You could put a hold on it for now until we reach out.
That's fine. Jackie, just the audit bureau, is that April as well, or is that May?
May, right, Camille? Or
It's usually May. They should be sending out the actual report. My understanding is the beginning of March. So I provided the audit bureau with your addresses, and they're going to be mailing the report directly to you.
Yeah, like once they make that public, I guess, when you're saying that, ask them to get it out to us quickly, because that's a big read.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be my understanding when they reached out to me, they said it was like March 1st. So I'm saying the first week of March to be on the safe side, unless they come back to me and tell me there's a delay, I will let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So Jackie or Camille or Kat will get back to us regarding the 28th. And if there are no other issues, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
Mike, one quick question, because I didn't get a chance to ask it before. I couldn't find my notes. In one of the documents, it refers to financially accountable as the basis for doing something. And what's the difference between financially accountable and financially responsible? Because accountable merely sounds like you end up doing what somehow that's what the accounts tell you. Financially responsible means that's your liability. Does anybody know the difference?
Is that in reference to a component unit determination?
It's one of the ones that that Marks Paneth had.
Because that sounds like the component unit criteria.
I just didn't understand the difference between financially accountable and financially responsible. Accountable means, to me, it means you record it. Responsible means you owe the money.
Can you just see which one it was, and then we'll reach out to Mark?
Let me see if I can find it. I'm sorry. I'm much too disorganized for this time. The other thing is I have comments on the Marks Paneth stuff. I'll send it to them.
Send it to Kat, and then she'll forward them on to Mark's panel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How do I send it to you, Kat?
Send it to the office. I'll give you the email.
Just the email address. It's hard copy here. I'll just put it in an envelope and mail it to you.
To the office.
Yeah. And then I'll mail it out.
Okay. So motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Thank you. Everybody be safe and be well, and I'll see you in March.
Jackie Florum. Oh, did Jackie jump already? Oh, she's fast.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Jackie and Florum and anyone from
Hey, this
my
is
staff.
recording. Hold on. This is still recording.